Hello again, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about removing blockages. You might wonder whether or not you have a blockage. It's usually pretty apparent if you do. One of the indications that you do is that you're basically feeling lost. You don't know what career to pursue. Even if you're in a career, maybe you're not happy and you want to do something else, but you don't know what else to do. Also, if you don't have a passion or purpose in your life, this is an indication of one type of blockage. Not seeing opportunities until it's too late is another indication. Sometimes you simply don't even hear of the opportunities at all until everybody else knows about them, and then it's usually too late to take advantage of that opportunity. Other times you see it and you think about it, but you don't do anything. So those are two different aspects of this. One of the more troublesome ones for most people is fear rules your life. Now, fear is not a bad emotion. Fear is ingrained to us genetically because fear is a very good thing to keep us out of serious life-threatening trouble. However, when fear makes you afraid to do anything, take any new opportunities, or take any new chances, this is when fear becomes a problem. Also, sometimes you might have some highly negative views about your appearance or your intelligence that hold you back, and it's only important if it holds you back. If, for example, you don't believe that you're smart enough to learn new things, and therefore you don't learn any new software for your job, or you don't take a class or two that could help you with your job, then that's a problem. Because then other people will do this and they'll pull ahead of you and you'll be stuck where you are and you won't make any headway. If your appearance is a problem for you, most other people probably don't feel that way, but this sometimes can be a problem, and it depends on what you do. If, for example, you're a journalist and you're very good at what you do, but if you have the opportunity to, let's say, go on TV as an anchor or perhaps as a regular commentator on a TV show, and you don't even consider it because you don't want to see yourself on TV, well, that's a problem. So most of the time, the appearance is less problematic, but there are times when it can be very problematic. Other indications are that you're feeling sad or angry much of the time. If you have anger management problems, that's almost certainly a blockage. At some point in your past, you probably felt very helpless, and anger made you feel more powerful. And so then this becomes your default way of managing things. And that's very bad for you. It often leads to legal problems, and there are better ways to deal with it. You just have to learn some new ways. And if this happened when you were very young, then this is one of the harder things to overcome because this has been your go-to thing for a long time. Milder forms of depression, and this may not even be considered clinical depression. I'm not sure where the line is drawn, but Feng Shui can help with this all by itself. But if you have serious depression, the kind where you start contemplating suicide, this needs a lot more than just Feng Shui. You need therapy and probably medication too, but we can add Feng Shui to that to make those two things much more effective for you. But when I'm talking about this, I'm just talking basically not being happy very often. That's what I mean by a milder form of depression. There are some people who just don't feel they're worthy of happiness. And that's quite sad because everybody is worthy of happiness. So this is another indication you have a blockage. One of the maybe not so common ones is that you don't have any energy, or you become ill very easily and very often. And this is a specific type of blockage. So how do blockages develop? By far, the most common source is abuse or trauma. Any type of abuse, verbal, physical, mental, emotional, and the very worst is probably sexual. And the longer you're exposed to this abuse, the stronger potential you have for blockages. And so this is why children who are abused, that tends to be quite long term, this is really a problem and causes a lot of blockages when they become adults. But any kind of trauma that creates PTSD can do this. And of course, the child abuse also causes PTSD. Now, neglect is also falls into this category of abuse. But this can happen to you as you're an adult with trauma. I mean, this could be things like a rape, or maybe you see a really horrible car accident, like a semi running over a bunch of trucks, or not trucks, cars, where you know the people inside, are dead, or maybe a plane crash, or you actually see a mass shooting. All those things will create trauma and almost always create PTSD. And most of the time they create blockages unless you get help. Sometimes living too long in a house that has bad feng shui for you as an individual can cause problems. Now, the house itself may have good potential feng shui, but not for someone who has the qua number that you have. It could be really good for somebody else. It's just not good for you. And if that house has bad feng shui for you, that means you don't see opportunities. You miss out on things. And then you may get to an idea that you're not meant to have these opportunities. And that's a type of blockage. There are also some natural tendencies, and the worst one is probably perfectionism. Because if you're a perfectionist, you will not be that happy with yourself, because you're human and you'll make mistakes. But everybody makes mistakes. And so this is something that you need to ease off on. I mean, perfectionism does good things. It makes you very precise when you work. It has its purpose in life, but you can't let this rule your life, because you'll be unhappy with lots of other people and yourself. Sometimes an unhealthy physical environment, and by that I mean a toxic environment, with toxic chemicals, toxic air, something like this, either in the past or the present, can cause you physical problems like bad health, no energy, that kind of thing. Of course, the real thing here, at least if it's in the present, is you've got to get out of there. Now, when it comes to sources of blockages, there's 3 different kinds. One is external. This one is relatively easy to fix because we use the flying stars, or sometimes we have to move you to a better suited place for you as an individual. In general, it's the least common because most people have some sort of intuition, and they end up finding themselves using certain rooms that have either better flying stars or at least better feng shui in their house. And also, if they're a house that they just doesn't suit them, they often want to move. Now, sometimes you're not able to move because of circumstances, but if you have the choice, you probably will move out of one of these places. Now, there's a spiritual / inspirational area. Now, spiritual does not mean religion. It means what drives you on a basic level. Now, it's not that hard to fix, but it's also not that easy. It's not as easy as the external. Well, here we use the Chimen Dunjia chart, and this is a really good location to find a passion or purpose in your life, or help you steer you to the right career. Now, it's also a good place to find the source of your blockage if you really don't know what it is. And This is very helpful because if I don't know what the source of your blockage is, it's very hard to fix it. This is also a really good place to help solve one of your problems. Let's say you have a new boss and you're having problems with this boss. You can't seem to communicate well, or something's going on. And you've tried a few tricks that you've done in the past that have worked, but they're not working. So you go to this place, and just like you do here, you sit down, you relax, and then you ask the universe, basically, what can I do to help the relationship between me and my new boss that benefits both of us? And it's important you say both of us, because you don't want it just to benefit you or your boss, because you won't be working there terribly long if your boss is not happy or if you're not happy. So it has to benefit both of you. And then you sit and you think for a while. And sometimes it takes a few times to do this, but all of a sudden you'll have an inspiration that says, oh, I think I can do this and it'll work. And you'll find it does. And this is basically what you do if you don't know what your source of your blockage is either. You sit down and you ask the universe, why do I have a blockage? Where is the source? Tell me what happened that caused this blockage. And you just sit and you think for a while, and it'll come to you. That's how this works. And what you're doing is you're tapping into the spiritual energy of the Qi Dunjia. And that's why it works. The last one is thoughts and emotions. It is the toughest to fix in general because this is usually the most ingrained one. And we use the purple-white annual and monthly charts for this. It is, by most people who have talked about this, it's the most common issue. It takes time and effort because it is so ingrained. And it's a bit like this where you're relaxing, thinking, no distractions from electronic devices. But instead of just asking the universe, it's a focused type of meditation. So this is basically me time, more than true meditation where you've got your legs crossed and your fingers in a certain position. This is just more sitting and thinking. And this, when you focus on something, what we are doing is we are making your emotions and thoughts turn towards a more positive direction. And it may be slow, it may be small increments, but we just keep doing this. Now, the hardest thing is you need to be open to this. There are a lot of people who don't want to admit it's their thoughts and emotions that are causing the problems in their lives. But you shouldn't blame yourself. Your past has led you to this point. There's nothing you can do about your past. You can only change your future. So what we do here is to slowly nudge everything towards the positive. And when you finally break through this blockage, you will be shocked. The world will just open up to you. You will find more opportunities than you know what to do with. It's amazing that there's such a big difference here. But you have to be willing to admit this might be the problem. And if we have tried these two, I've checked this, there's nothing wrong here, and we've used this, the only thing left is this. And I know there's a lot of people who just don't want to admit this, but the beauty of your life after this blockage is removed, even if it is this source, it's worth any pain or embarrassment you might feel, because the world is just so much better when this happens. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions, or visit my ad-free website. Also, you can subscribe because I will be having regular videos, including ways to improve your life basically month to month and some year to year. Thank you again for watching.